All right, let's get right into it. For decades, companies have been on this epic quest for the holy grail. That one single perfect product that everyone is going to love. But what if that whole mission is, well, just plain wrong? Today, we're going to unpack the surprising science that shows why that search for perfection is a myth and what it means for basically everything you buy.
Just think about the last time you were in a supermarket. You're standing there, and you're just faced with this wall of choices. It's not just one or two kinds of mustard, right? You've got Dijon, stone ground, yellow, spicy brown, the list goes on. And it's the same for coffee, for spaghetti sauce, you name it. So why? Well, the answer isn't just competition. No, it goes way deeper into the kind of weird and wonderful ways our brains actually make decisions.
Professor Martin Schleicher really hit the nail on the head with this. He was talking about a student trying to explain her choice between Coke and Pepsi, and he said, "She has an infinite inability to tell me why." And that right there is the core of the puzzle. We are fantastic at making choices. We do it all day. But when you ask us why we made that choice, we're surprisingly bad at explaining the real reasons. We might say one thing, but what we do reveals something completely different. So how on earth do you find out what people truly want if they can't even tell you themselves?
To solve this big puzzle, market researchers had to get creative. They had to invent whole new tools. They needed a way to get past what people said they wanted and see what they actually thought. Basically, they needed a way to map the consumer's mind without planting ideas in their heads. So one of the first big breakthroughs was this technique called multidimensional scaling, or MDS. Now, what's so cool about this is how simple it is on the surface. Instead of asking a bunch of questions about like power or economy, it just asks one simple question over and over. How similar are these two things? That's it.
And this is what you get from all those simple questions. Just from those similarity ratings, a pretty complex algorithm creates a map. Kind of like this one. It's like trying to build a star chart by only measuring the distance between stars. Do that enough, and constellations just start to appear. And here, the constellations are clusters of brands. It shows you visually where different customer groups, the ones researchers might call explorers or savers, are hanging out on the map. It's a picture of the marketplace, built entirely on gut feelings.
So here's the secret sauce, the really crucial point. Those labels you see, economy and performance, they're added by the analysts after the map is made. They look at the clusters and they interpret what those axes mean. This is huge because it totally removes the bias of forcing someone to think in the researcher's terms. It lets the consumer's own mental map just emerge, totally free from anyone's assumptions.
Now, MDS is awesome for getting a snapshot of how things are right now. But what if you want to design something new? For that, you need an even more powerful tool, something that doesn't just map perceptions, but actually decodes the very science of choice itself.
The philosophy behind this next technique is just perfectly captured by the Spanish phrase, "Dime que eliges y te diré lo que te gusta." It means, tell me what you choose and I'll tell you what you like. This is the foundation of something called conjoint analysis, and it's built on an idea economists call revealed preferences. Basically, forget what people say, just watch what they do. So conjoint analysis takes that core idea and turns it into a science. It shows people a series of choices between different product concepts, each one with a different mix of features and prices. It forces you to make trade-offs, exactly like you would in a real store. You can't have it all.
And look at how simple this is for the person doing the survey. You're just shown, say, 3 packets of oregano. They have different brands, different prices. Maybe one has a little zipper on it, maybe one doesn't. You don't have to rate anything, you don't have to explain yourself, you just pick one. And you do this maybe a dozen times with different combinations.
And from those incredibly simple choices, you get this.
Wow.
Each of these lines is called a utility curve, and they are brilliant. They show you exactly what matters. A really steep slope, like the ones you see here for price or processing power, that means that feature is a huge driver in the decision. But a flat curve, that means people don't really care about it, no matter what they might have told you in a focus group.
Okay, here's a fantastic real-world example from that oregano study. When they asked people directly, they said, "Oh yeah, a resealable zipper is very important to me." But when their actual choices were analyzed, the utility curve for that zipper was completely flat. It had zero impact on their decision. This one little insight saved the company a ton of money on new packaging they didn't even need. Or check out this study for a new alcoholic drink. The company was obsessing over the ingredients. Should it be hibiscus or cassis? But the analysis showed something incredible. The brand name, just the name, accounted for almost half of the decision-making power, 47%.
Color was next, and the ingredients they were so worried about, they were barely a factor, under 9%. They were laser-focused on the one thing consumers cared about the least.
So we have these tools that let us see what people truly value. Now let's talk about the man who took this fundamental idea and used it to completely turn an entire industry on its head, proving once and for all that the perfect product is a total myth. This is Howard Moskowitz. He's a psychophysicist, which is a fancy term for someone who measures how people perceive things. And Moskowitz took this super rigorous, data-driven thinking and applied it to the messy, subjective world of food.
Okay, so his most famous work was for Prego spaghetti sauce. They had a great product, but they were getting absolutely crushed by ragu. So what did Howard do? No focus groups. He created 45 different varieties of sauce. Thin, thick, spicy, sweet, garlicky, you name it, he made it. He took them all across the country and had thousands of people test them. And when he crunched the data, he didn't find the perfect sauce. He found 3. There was a group that liked plain sauce, another group that liked spicy, and a third enormous group that nobody was serving, people who loved extra chunky spaghetti sauce. So Prego launched Extra Chunky, and it completely took over the market.
And this brings us to Moskowitz's legendary quote that just sums up this entire idea. The mind doesn't know what the tongue wants. If you had asked people in a focus group what they wanted, they never ever would have been able to say, I want a chunky sauce. They don't know. You have to give them the options and let their choices tell you the truth. So, what is the big lesson here? What's the takeaway from all of this? Well, the lesson from Moskowitz and these incredible research tools is a really profound strategic shift in how we should think about products, markets, and honestly, even happiness itself. It's all about moving away from chasing some kind of universal ideal, that one perfect mustard or the one perfect coffee. The old goal was a universal solution. The new goal, and the much more successful one, is to find the perfect products, plural, for different groups of people. It's about embracing variability. And this is what embracing variability really means. It means you accept that people can't always tell you what they want. It means you get that there's no better or worse taste. Spicy mustard isn't superior to mild, they're just different. It means you stop designing for some mythical average person who doesn't exist, and you start designing for real distinct segments. Because in that diversity, companies don't just find more profit, they actually deliver more happiness to their customers.
This whole revolution in food showed us that one size really doesn't fit anyone particularly well, and that leaves us with one last big thought. If the search for the single perfect product turned out to be a total myth, what other fundamental business truths are out there just waiting for the right data to come along and shatter them completely?